What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Chelsea won, Arsenal won. Honestly, I'm a bit frustrated at that. I feel like that's 2 points dropped. I'm not saying that Chelsea's performance was enough to go and win that game, but I feel like with a couple of tweaks, we could have won that game. Our players are definitely good enough to beat the Arsenal side we saw today. And that was a full-strength Arsenal team that are supposedly in a title race. And I just didn't see it. I felt like everything Arsenal did today had no game plan. They had no idea. It was almost, let's just see what happens off the back of playing this pass over the top. Whereas Chelsea, I felt like we were trying to do the right thing today, trying to create opportunities, trying to win this game of football. I just felt like actually, at times, it was a similar story to what we've seen in a couple of big games, that we managed to get the ball into the right areas, and the players that are getting on the ball in those areas are probably not the players we want to see there. I mean, how many times did Gusto get into a fantastic area of the pitch, but it was probably the area that Cole Palmer should be in? Look, a 1-1 draw at home against Arsenal, who are one of the better teams in the Premier League, albeit not on current form, is a good result. However you dress that up, it's not a loss. The last time we played this lot, we lost 5-0. You know, it was not a great performance by any means the last time we played them. But today, big improvements. Yeah, it's frustrating we didn't win. I felt like that could have been the first win we had against Arsenal since 2018 at Stamford Bridge. I felt like United a few weeks ago, that could have been the first win at Old Trafford in a long time. We didn't manage to do it, but we didn't lose those games. You know, out of the last 4, we've got 5 points out of the possible 12 against some real tough teams. Manchester United, Newcastle, Liverpool and Arsenal, 5 points out of 12. I think that is the bare minimum I would accept, and I think we did it. I think anything below that probably wouldn't have been good enough. But to go unbeaten in, 3 of those games? That's pretty good. And to be sat where we are, going into this international break, in 3rd place in the Premier League table, I mean, if you'd have told me that at the beginning of the season, I would have snapped your hand off, no matter how we'd got there. I think if you look under the microscope, there's a couple of tweaks that can be made. And if we talk about improvements, I think some of that comes from playing out of the back. I don't know what you think, but let me know in the comments, because every time Chelsea try to play out from the back at the moment, I feel like Stamford Bridge as a whole and Chelsea fans, they're struggling to come to terms with why that's a good idea. But I think when you look at the players we've got, that's actually where our strengths lie. I'd happily give the ball playing out from the back to players like Casado and players that are comfortable on the ball like Lavia, because I feel like they're able to turn in those tight places and when they're being pressed heavily and actually make something happen, and they actually become a real danger for the opposing team. My frustration is that sometimes we overplay it, or we're a bit rushed when we really don't need to be, and I think a little bit more of a calmer head and dealing with those situations. This Chelsea team will be playing through teams very easily. I think if I look around this team, I'm seeing a lot of players starting to get to grips with Maresca's system, get to grips with the idea. You know, at first, and the way we began the season, there was a lot of habits that were obviously there from what Pochettino had asked this team to do. I think more and more we're starting to see this team form into a Maresca side, try and dominate the ball, try and get on it as much as possible and play out from the back. And I think we've just got to be a little bit more patient with that, because I think by the end of the season, he will have this team playing football in a way that is unrecognisable to what we saw under Pochettino. I'm really hopeful of that. A player I want to commend massively is Cucurella. I think the way this guy has improved since very early on last season, the trajectory has just been upwards. He's been fantastic. And again, another great performance. I mean, Saka really did have a tough game against him today. Cucurella made it, almost impossible for Saka to get past him. I don't actually know whether or not Saka got past Cucurella today. I think Cucurella was that good. I'm really, really impressed with him. And I think he's flowing now. I think he's at his full fitness. I think he looks like he's capable of getting forward and creating. I think defensively, It doesn't look like someone can beat him. He reads the game very well. Yes, he's on the front foot all the time, but we're now seeing trust in the other players around him to allow him to do that, and also they know he can get back in. Whereas I think when Cucurella first came to this team, people thought he was a bit of a headless chicken, but now they just see it's a guy who's playing on the front foot, and if he's going to go and dive in to try and win an interception somewhere further up than where his position might be, then we just have to cover for him, and we're seeing that now, and I think we are currently reaping the rewards of Marc Cucurella's form, to be honest, and I think he did keep Saka quiet today. Talking about players that were a little bit quiet, though, Cole Palmer. And I don't want to get on this stick about him not performing in big games. I think it's quite obvious, to be honest with you, what the real issue is here. And I think Cole Palmer right now, and since the Newcastle game, I don't think he's in his best position. I think it's that simple. We've got a player that did so well off the right-hand side last season, so well cutting in from that position, creating, running with the ball, having opportunities to shoot. We saw him absolutely thrive from that area of the pitch last season. We then saw at the beginning of this season he got moved to the inside sort of right pocket, where I think he's actually still just as dangerous. Then there were talks that he was struggling and he wasn't getting on the ball as much, but actually I think it's just about giving him a bit of time to learn how to deal with the extra man that's being applied to him a lot more this season, and let him understand how this team's going to play. I think with Poch last year, a lot of it was like give the ball to Palmer and see what happens, whereas now it feels a little bit more structured, and I actually think there's a good thing that there's probably more quality around Palmer. But then the last couple of games since Maresca tried to move him out to this left-hand side to free him up because he was getting man-marked on the right, although he scored from there against Newcastle, I'm not sure we're seeing the best out of him. I'm really not. And I think actually time for that experiment to end. Move Cole Palmer back towards the right-hand side of the pitch. We all know how good he is playing out towards that side. Let him deal with the double up, because sometimes when he got doubled up, he was able to play in Madueke or create. And I actually think that this left-hand side sort of role is not getting the best out of him. And I think for a player as good as he is, you need to be getting the best out of Cole Palmer. I'm not going to sit here and bash him for not performing in big games because I don't think that's true. I think he still has good games. He's just not been able to put up the type of numbers that he showed us that he was capable of doing last year. And I think the thing is, he did so well last season. Unless this guy's dropping 9 out of 10s, 8 out of 10s every week, people are going to start to get on his back, which I think is absolutely ludicrous. Another player I want to speak about is Enzo Fernandez. Enzo Fernandez had a good game midweek, 45 minutes, 3 assists, had a really good game, looked really good in that position. He came on the pitch today, and I actually think we've got to commend him. I think he had a solid game. I think Enzo got on the ball in a slightly deeper area where, don't get me wrong, I think a lot of people have been saying we want to see him there, and he's been given opportunities. He's not been great. I think the last few weeks he's been looking a little bit more comfortable. And he ultimately got himself another assist today, albeit didn't have to do much because Neto, unreal. What a goal that is. But yeah, great little cameo from Enzo Fernandez in that slightly deeper role. I thought he got himself about the pitch and was a good addition to the team today. And I have to just give him praise. But that moves me perfectly onto the point winner today, Neto. This guy, maybe right wing needs to be nailed on for him right now because Madueke, look, we know he's a good player. We know there's bags of ability there, but it's hot and cold with him a lot. And I think once Noni gets himself more consistent, I genuinely think Noni will have that position to be his own somewhere in this Chelsea team, or if not at another Premier League club, I'm sure of it, because I think Noni is that good. But Neto, my word, that goal today is fantastic. The way it just came out of nowhere, exploded into that left-hand side pocket, worked his shot off, kept it low, drove it hard towards the keeper. He got nowhere near it. It was a fantastic goal. The way he celebrated, oh my gosh, that showed me that this guy is made for Chelsea. I think Neto looks like a fantastic player, and what a goal, honestly, absolutely fantastic. Look, Maresca's got a few tweaks to make, there's no doubt about it, but for me, this Chelsea team are moving in the right direction. I believe and trust in what I've seen from Maresca early doors to make the adjustments that are needed. I don't think we need to panic just yet, but I do think with time, this Chelsea team, I think it's going places. I really do. Look, some players have a quiet game, others turn up. I think we see swings and roundabouts with this young, inexperienced Chelsea side right now. Look, maybe a bit of experience is what this team needs. But right now, I think we're moving in the right direction. And look, if you'd have said to me that third going into this international break was achievable, I probably would have said, I don't know. And we're there, and we've done it. And imagine we can only get better. I'm not really bothered about teams around us dropping points. We've just got to do what we've got to do. And ultimately, points and wins and good performances and fighting performances like we saw today. We've gone 1-0 down. We got ourselves back in the game. That's what makes a team become a lot stronger and fight for each other and become a lot more difficult to beat. And we know how much results against big teams like Arsenal can help a team develop. Look, I think the referee wasn't great today, just to finish things off. I think he had such a weird game, and I've just got to say that I'm getting fed up. That I think if Chelsea had lost today, that would have been the talking point. But look, it's a point. Arsenal are a tough team to break down today. It was a difficult game to get a point in. We've done that. International break, let's see how that goes. We've got Leicester first game back. I will speak to you all very soon at the Chelsea. And make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. We're on the road to 3,000 before Christmas.